Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the last Radical Esports Cup broadcast of the 2025 Season 4 season. Comes to you live from Road Atlanta tonight for round number 12. Some of the big names are here. Indeed, the driver who's got the best results throughout our season here on Racebot TV and on the iRacing YouTube channel as well. Andre Castro headlining the names who are on the grid, currently qualifying for this race tonight. It's myself, Ian O'Leary, and Ron Mounds taking you through the action as always, with Ramiro Augustin Cisneros behind the cameras. And it is going to be a wild finish to the season. Ron, we had a fantastic penultimate round at Le Mans last week. It's going to be different to that for sure, but same iconic sports car racetrack for us in the final round.
Yeah, I know, as much as Road Atlanta may be completely different geographically than Le Mans, I feel like the racing that we're going to see today is kind of similar. You got a lot of tight twisties around this track that are going to be a real test of these drivers' skill, but you also have that massively long back straightaway and a slam dunk overtaking opportunity as well, heading down into that turn 10 chicane. We're going to see a game of leapfrog that I don't really think has been played out this season. Even at Le Mans, those back straight chicanes, not too easy of a spot to get a move done. Here at Road Atlanta, meanwhile, in these Radical SR10s, we are going to have a game of leapfrog that is going to be awesome for us to watch here in the broadcast booth. Probably going to be scary and unnerving for the drivers behind the wheel.
Andre Castro has got a very, very large lead in the iRacing standings for Season 4 in 2025. Over 250 points, 252 points in fact, to his name over the rest of the field. But the battle for second is interesting. Havik Gullikson, who's here tonight, is there with Andreas Friedrich, who isn't, sadly. And Peter Eveny is here, so we'll see two of those fighting for second. Heinz Brunn rather on his own, then in fifth, with George Gonzaga only just in front of Solly Rettinen and Rafa Blanco. Bit of a gap then back to Paki Caruso and Sebastian Lipp, who are about 100 points apart. In our Racebot TV standings, Andre Castro has got an unassailable lead now with 52 points more than anybody else. That's as a result of last week's Le Mans finish where he was fourth. Which brought to an end a run of 4 podiums in a row, 4 top 2 finishes in a row indeed. Andreas Friedrich, who's not been here for the last couple of weeks, is in second ahead of Havik Gullikson, who wasn't here last week. He'll be fighting with Peter Eveny for second, maybe third in our standings tonight. Heinz Brunn fifth, like he is in the iRacing standings. Sebastian Lipp and James Barry tied on 60, just in front of Solly Rettinen, George Gonzaga and Rafa Blanco, who is now in 10th position after scoring points in 2 of the last 4 weeks. 33 degrees Celsius on the racetrack, half past midday here at Road Atlanta on the 1st of April, so conditions not terrible, but never really has a huge bearing on these races in all honesty, apart from when it's dark, which of course it was last week, Ron, and I think that did make a bit of a difference. I heard some people commenting that they would have much preferred Le Mans, in fact really enjoyed it if it wasn't dark. No such conditions to deal with this time.
Yeah, and I think the drivers felt like they were racing on ice 1 week ago at Le Mans. Here, however, still going to be on the slightly chillier end, at least compared to the races that we had throughout some of the earlier seasons here, getting to the end of this final season of 2025, looking to cap it off in style, even though it may be cool out there on the racetrack. The action on the track itself for these drivers is incredibly hot. Looking at George Gonzaga, your Le Mans winner just 1 week ago, you're only slotted in 8th in this session, and look at your top 3. Specifically James Barry in second and Havik Gullikson in third. Past champions of the Radical SR10s in the past year as well. James Barry won the championship in Season 4 of 2024. Gullikson was your first champion of 2025, doing it in Season 1. Those two right now slotted second and third in this qualifying session, covered by 0.004 of a second.
It's going to be one of those sessions where it's really, really close across the board because the circuit isn't very long, and so it's going to create a very interesting session for us here to open with. Gabriel Berger over the line. Will be just over a second off of Peter Eveny. It's one of the less fancied drivers, though, in this lineup, unfortunately, because he's the number 18 out of 19 who are in this race. Alberto Rios is the only driver not to have set a time so far. Denis Kirakopoulos should be in the top 10 as far as his number is concerned. We'll see whether this can be an improvement, but he is only 6 or 7 tenths behind Peter Eveny at the moment. It's no disgrace at all as he comes over the top of the hill here and down the other side. What is the time going to be for Denis Kirakopoulos? It's going to be much better. He's going to halve his gap to the leader, and he should be in the top 10 if it counts. And it doesn't, so there you go. He'll stay where he is. He might have even run out of his lap time. I guess the big surprise, Ron, I guess there's a couple of them. two drivers in the top 6 in terms of numbers, in terms of how they're rated in iRacing, outside the top 10. The big one being Andre Castro in 11th. But Franco Sanchez-Buckley as well, who you'd probably fancy to move up from 12th.
Yeah, it's a little bit surprising to see that duo on row number 6 at the moment, considering that they have such high I rating. This track can be a little bit tricky, though. I mean, you look at the circuit as we have this aerial shot off through turn number 1. Excuse me. The runoff area around here, very old school. You don't have asphalt shoulders to speak of at all. It is pretty much just racetrack, painted white line, grass, gravel, wall. So around this racetrack, even in qualifying, those top running racers, we know that Andre Castro and Franco Sanchez, two incredibly talented racers in these SR10s, but they are always the one pushing the limits a little bit more than some. So maybe they got some lap time invalidations, just had one lap. Maybe it was their second time that they had that got invalidated. A reminder, folks, only 2 laps allotted to these racers in this 8-minute long qualifying session. So I wonder if that was the case, whether or not they had a quicker lap time. They just didn't get it across the line fully clean, and that's the reason why they're all the way at the back. Gonna give us a fantastic storyline to talk about throughout this race, though. That is gonna be a good storyline. See what Peter Eveny can do up at the front. James Barry looking to bounce back after what's been a pretty lean year for him here in 2025. Lots of storylines as we head off into the season finale.
Absolutely. Peter Eveny, one of those searching for a top finish in the iRacing standings and our standings as well. Qualifies on the pole here for the final race of the season, with James Barry just 200ths of a second behind. Howard Gullickson only 4 thousandths further behind. Christopher Yanakis, perhaps the surprise package. 4th place, less than a 10th off of pole. Heinz Braun and Paki Caruso will share row 3. Tim Bertie is put on a good qualifying there in 7th as well, ahead of Rafa Blanco, with George Gonzaga looking to rekindle his top 10 run that was stretching all the way to 8 weeks at one stage this season in our broadcasted races. He starts from 9th ahead of Jarek Dunkovic, with Andre Castro, the champion in waiting, ahead of Franco Sanchez-Buckley, then on row 6. Just over half a second off is Denis Kyriakopoulos, with Ollie Gullickson and Chris Wetz also within a second of pole at least. Lars-Erik Frydenlund is 16th ahead of Gabriel Berger and Juan Perez, the last drivers to set times, with the 19th place qualified by Alberto Rios. He didn't qualify though, hence why he's not on that grid there. He didn't have a time on the board, but he is on the grid for this race. It's going to be a wild one. I guess the feeling is that the grid is a little bit mixed up compared to what you'd expect to see, and this either way is a good circuit for racing in these radicals.
And good conditions as well. The only big sticking out is the wind. Very high winds here at this race, but the ambient temperatures are low, so these cars are going to be producing a lot of power. The track temperatures are in that sweet spot, 93 degrees Fahrenheit, so these racers are going to be feeling the grip. This is going to be a fun race. I think we're going to be seeing the entirety of the grid push at 10/10. They want to end this season off on a high note, and I think they have some great opportunities to do so here today.
Here we go then. Last race of the season, last race of 2025 in iRacing. It's Road Atlanta in the Radical Esports Cup, and we're underway again. Peter Eveny off to a good start, but not so much from the second place for James Barry. Howard Gullickson immediately alongside him, immediately ahead of him on that launch towards turn number 1. Do they all get through cleanly? The top few guys do, in fact the whole field do. A very nice start up and down the field, but now over the top of the hill. Gullickson consolidates second, and James Barry back to 3rd. Heinz Braun up to 4th. Christopher Yanakis back to 5th. Only a few changes. In fact, those are the only 2 changes inside the top 8.
Yeah, I think everybody at this early stage without Twisty, the opening series of turns are here at Road Atlanta. They want to get those tires up to temperature before they really start to squabble up. Gonna see that game of leapfrog start though here as they head their way at the bottom end of the circuit through this back straightaway right about now. You know, this straightaway was so long, many moons ago, they used to land airplanes on the back end of the circuit. And in these SR10s, it is slipstream heaven. If you're the driver getting an overtake done, it is going to be an amazing series of bits of asphalt that you're driving on. If you're the driver getting overtaken, though, there's no part of this racetrack that you hate more.
Alberto Rios, one of the only drivers during a small excursion off the road, but it wasn't too bad. Paki Caruso is going backwards here. Was trying to overtake Christopher Yanakis, but has now been overtaken by Tim Bertie, who makes up his first position of the race. And just look at who's behind Caruso already here. Andre Castro is up 3 places at the beginning of this race. Feels like he's having a rather similar race to what he had back at Zandvoort, where he didn't qualify very well at all, and See, at Zandvoort, he found it very difficult to make up the places. Maybe tonight he'll find it a little bit easier. We've got that long run down the back straight into the final chicane that it looks like Castro has already been using to make up positions, and here he is on the back of Caruso, really looking for 7th place as well, and Caruso's going to defend. Castro goes to the other side of the road and he goes on the inside into 7th position. It is much easier to overtake on this venue than at others he's qualified poorly at in the past.
And Packy Caruso oh so close to dropping that car on the curb as he headed his way through the bottom end of this racetrack. Keep an eye on that throughout this race. The curbs are something that you got to use a lot of here at Road Atlanta if you want to go super duper quick. These SR10s hate the curbs more than they hate anything. As Havard Gullikson getting past Peter Even, he nearly loses it.
Wow, even he's down to 3rd. James Barry's going to take them both here, and Heinz Braun's going to take 3rd. A wild ride for Peter Eveny through the final chicane there. Christopher Yanakis going to follow through as well. They're all coming through at the moment. James Barry leads ahead of Gullikson, who gets away with all that. Heinz Braun up to 3rd. Who's going to be 4th? Christopher Yanakis is going to be 4th position. What a great time to overtake for him as he gets past Peter Eveny. Be very disappointed to have lost 4 positions so far in just 2 laps.
Let's take a look at the moment. It was side-by-side racing. Havard Gullikson going for the dive on Peter Eveny. I think that both of them had a moment because there you can see that was Havard Gullikson locking up. And I think in the process of trying to go for the switchback and the cutback through the turn, Peter Eveny just overturned it, over-rotated, and nearly rotated his way straight off into the barrier. That could have ended in tears for him, which just going to note, we have seen so many different race winners throughout this season of action here in the Radical Esports Cup for Season 4 of 2025. 8 winners to my count in the 11 races that we have had. Not seeing a lot of repeat winners. Could very well be on for another repeat though. James Barry holding on to that top spot. Make that Havard Gullikson as Tim Birdie going side by side with Christopher Yanakis battling out for the final 2 spots in the top 5.
Yeah, Tim Birdie's been very smart so far, making up the positions and is up to 4th. Peter Eveny has had another mistake out of turn 5, by the way, and that's why he's down to 7th behind Andre Castro, who's looking for another place. Top 5 might be on the cards here. Oh, 4th place might be on the cards. A 3-wide dive, and he takes 4th position in front of Yanakis and Bertie. And here comes, oh dear, Eveny, and he does hit Tim Bertie. There was always going to be contact. Eveny and Bertie go around. They scatter to avoid. Kyriakopoulos comes through and slams into the 13 car, and that'll be the end of him. Peter Eveny's gone as well. Jared Dunkovic, no rear wing. Oh, it's all gone wrong here. Gullikson and Barry seem to be dropping through the field as well.
Oh, and carnage breaking out all throughout this field. Let's take a look at the first bit of drama. It got ugly in that battle for the final spot inside the top 5. There's a contact with the 13 and the 5 as they head their way off through the turn. Jared Dunkovic, your 2025 Radical Sim Racing AM champion, involved in the drama. One in the World Finals, not going to do well here at Road Atlanta. What is going on with James Barry and Havard Gullikson, though? That's my question, because they had to have dropped it in a very odd section of racetrack. You don't go side by side through the bottom end of the circuit, but I think they may have done and may have ended in tears. And all of that, we haven't really mentioned this, Andre Castro has scythed his way up to 2nd.
Yeah, unbelievable really. I mean, helped massively by the incidents of the last few moments. We've got 8 drivers with meatball flags right now, and that obviously takes away those who have damage but no meatball. This is what happened. I mean, it was always going to 3 wide through there. They go for a spin and then look at them all scattered to avoid here. Bang! Kyriakopoulos that was, who came through and slammed into Tim Bertie, who is back out on the circuit incidentally. Not really sure where Dunkovic managed to find trouble there, to be honest. Lose his rear wing, but anyway, we'll have another look later. Barry and Gullikson both out of this race as well, and they were, you know, in contention, well, more than in contention for this race. They were leading this race, battling for the win.
Yeah, and I just looked back to take a look at what happened. It was as they headed their way off through the very tricky kink of turn number 5. You gotta see George Gonzaga try and squabble up with Packy Caruso, as Andre Castro and Heinz Braun also gonna have a swapperoo up at the front of the field. But I looked back on the incident to see what happened. We can load up a replay here soon so the viewers can see this as well. Havard Gullikson hopped the curb. He hit the curb on the outside, right as I was talking about the SR10s not liking the curbs at all. He hit the curb, hit the gravel. It fired him off into the outside wall, and it was nothing that James Berry could have done as Havard Gullikson bounced back onto the racetrack, and the two of them came to blows as both of them slid into the wall, and that opened up the floodgates for your top two now to be running in that spot. Very easy mistake to make if you are Havard Gullikson as you head your way out through. This is a turn in question, turn number 5 to those not familiar here. Hit that outside curb, hit the gravel, and there was the wall he hit, bounced immediately back up there like nobody's business, and James Berry, nothing he could have done. Unfortunate incident, racing deal. That's a shame though for the both of them, because they looked like they were just driving off into the sunset.
Yeah, it is a shame for them both, and gives us a completely different look to the front of the race now. We just saw a replay there of Andre Castro getting past Heinz Brunt on the way towards the final chicane. And Castro now looking at the gap, actually. Castro looking like he might have speed to actually get away from the rest of the field here, break the slipstream. This is Kiriakopoulos out the pit lane, realising that clearing his meatball is not enough, I think. And look at that front left right tyre. Anyway, he's waiting for... maybe he's just waiting for the field to go by, in fact. But I'm not sure that front right tyre is meant to look like that. No, that's going to be another trip down pit lane, I'm afraid, for the driver one lap down in 13th position. So, big damage and big casualties from this race already. A lot of them top contenders for this field as well. Peter Eveny and Havard Gullikson. Both in contention for second place in the iRacing standings, and you know these races do hurt them. We never get the full picture in these races, to be fair, Ron, about what the iRacing standings are going to look like. As much as people may think we spend all our lives watching radical races and keeping up, it's very hard to convey what is actually going on throughout just one of these broadcasted races. But that's, you know, any bad race like this is bad news for them in the standings.
Yeah, and the reason why everybody chooses to drive in this race and why it has a significant amount of importance, not only is it the broadcasted split, so you want to go out there for all that glory, shine under the camera lights. With the high strength of field that we usually have, all the top talent shows up for these broadcasted races. So if you do take a hit, iRating, safety rating wise, whatever the case may be, it is going to sting big time if you run into some trouble here in these races. But to those kind of not familiar with iRacing and the way this series works, is golly, look at that wheel of Dennis Kiriakopoulos. You know, I have seen worse cars on the road in the city of Philadelphia, but I fear for my life more on the roads of the city of Philadelphia than I do out there on the racetrack.
These are the battles we're really left with, unfortunately, I guess, in some ways. This is the battle for third place with Christopher Inakis, George Gonzaga, Paki Guruzo and Franco Sanchez-Buckley, who's made up positions quite well, but not quite as quickly as Andre Castro has in fairness. And so we'd like a few more here, 3 more available to him in the next few moments, quite possibly. This, I think, yeah, is going to turn into a battle that what we were hoping the lead battle would really be about.
Yeah, I think this will be the battle to keep our eyes on between some very talented racers in this pack, as there goes George Gonzaga to try and jump into that spot. Gonzaga, a driver who's running these SR10s for so long. He's been running it in these 2100 GMT broadcasted races for just about as long as I've been doing them, which is coming up to about 3 years now. So very venerated driver behind the wheel of that number 8 machine, holding on to P3. So take a look. Jared Dunkovich has rejoined the racetrack with a missing rear wing. I wonder if that was after the contact heading off through the opening sector of that lap, because there's no conceivable way that he would have rejoined.
Well, no, sorry, I think he has actually, you know, I think what happens is these guys clear the meatball and think, well, is it actually that bad if I continue without taking all the optionals? And they always realise that, yes, it is actually quite bad. And they always end up seemingly retiring from the race soon afterwards. So that'll be the end of that for Jared Dunkovich, I would imagine, as it has definitely been for James Berry. Peter Eveny and Havard Gullikson are still down on pit lane at the moment as well, getting repairs, and would be nice to see them back out on the circuit again, but they're going to have to spend a very long time in pit lane before they can get out again, so I would be surprised to see many of them rejoin.
There's a lot of racers running into trouble in this race. It seems like Road Atlanta has been the killer that everybody expected it to be. Nobody goes into Road Atlanta Radical SR10 race thinking it's going to be a tame day behind the wheel. And just the end of a very challenging season as Franco Sanchez tries to give the bump drift to Becky Caruso. He's ahead of their way down the start-finish straightaway and nearly wrecked the both of them in one shot. That could have ended in tears. I wonder if there's maybe a little bit of damage on the front of Franco Sanchez's car. These cars do tend a lot more towards understeer, but even with the dirty air and all that considered, it looks like he's having to crank a whole lot of steering lock into that race car. That was a tap for sure, and these SR10s don't respond too well to having any sort of tweak to the front splitter. So I wonder if there's any sort of damage on Franco Sanchez's car. In the meantime, we got Christopher Yanakis and Becky Caruso squabbling up for the final two spots inside the top 5. Lots of these cars have damage. It's just a matter of whose car is damaged the least.
Yeah, it will come down to that a little bit in some cases. Down the straight, this quartet of drivers on the way to the final chicane. Becky Caruso wants to get past all of them. Yanakis wants to stay in line here, but here comes Caruso. Oh, he's going to get blocked. Going to get blocked by Gonzaga, who defends smartly on the way to the chicane. Caruso sent wide by Yanakis. Oh, and I think Caruso tried to slam in front of Franco Sanchez Buckley, but couldn't into the final corners. And Caruso goes from looking for 4th place to suddenly outside the top 5 again. And in fact, Sanchez is going to use his momentum to come down the inside of Yanakis. And will he close the door? Oh, he just about does. That took a lot of faith in Yanakis there. He would back out, and in the end, he just about got away with that.
One thing that we do see a lot of week in and week out here in these 2100 GMT broadcasted races is the palpable sense of community in the Radical SR10 world. Many of these racers drive with each other week in and week out, sometimes multiple times a day. In fact, as there's a dive from Yanakis heading his way off into turn number 6 and 7. That's not really a spot to go for a move, though, because you're just going to get leapfrogged again heading down this back straightaway. But you can tell the sense of faith that a lot of these racers have in each other, going side by side, giving each other the benefit of the doubt, really going for some gutsy moves that they wouldn't want to go on anybody else. They just know the drivers and they know the talent that they're driving with, and that can create a little bit of confidence to try and go for those outrageous moves. There's Franco Sanchez jumping in front of Yanakis, going to jump back in front as well. Leapfrog in full effect into 10.
That's what can happen in a big group like this, and I'd say sadly we're not seeing that for the race lead anymore, but we are going to see it for 4th position, not even for a podium place anymore, because the George Gonzaga has gotten further up front. Yanakis defends the inside into 1, but here comes Caruso on Sanchez, and he goes through, not waiting around. He sense there's a bit of impatience in this group at the moment, and Caruso wants to make progress. There he goes, straight through into 5th again, but now we'll see whether he can have more success of getting to 4th.
Yeah, so as this battling still flares up for some of the lesser spots inside the top 5, do want to touch on the fact that Andre Castro has driven off into the sunset ever since he got the move done on a Heinz Braun not too long ago. He has dropped him down to the tune of about 2.8 seconds. That is a healthy margin in these SR10s. Usually about a second is what you need to break away, about a second to a second and a quarter to finally pull out of the drafting range of the driver right behind you. Andre Castro has done that and then some, as there's a move from Caruso. He thought about it at the very least into turn number 10. Shows his door, shows his nose at, not going to go for it as Yanakis still holding on to 4th.
Yeah, he's doing a really good job here, Yanakis. Alberto Rios, unfortunately, having trouble here tonight. He's in 12th place at the moment, the last running of those who have not made a pit stop so far in this race. Kyriakopoulos, Bertie and Frydenlund, the only ones still in the race who are running behind him at the moment. Over the top of the hill, Yanakis defends well again here, and yeah, this is a really strong drive from Yanakis. Still ahead of Becky Caruso and Franco Sanchez Buckley, who I would say race in this series and in this split on this evening of the week a little bit more regularly than what Yanakis does, and that's got to give them an advantage of some sorts, but at the moment he's not letting that show and holding on very well for 4th position.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic drive from Christopher Yanakis. He has shown that he does not crack under pressure, even with the likes of Paki Caruso and Franco Sanchez and others going for some rather outrageous sends on him throughout this race. I think the main battle is going to break down between Caruso and Sanchez. And speaking of, here comes Sanchez, slingshot engage down into turn number 10. Gonna think about it down the inside, but Caruso just keeping that momentum rolling. Here at this racetrack, he can play a good defensive game, but with that running wide moment heading out of the chicane, Sanchez is going to have another shot to get the move done, and this time he makes it work down the hill around the final corner to start up another lap. It's not over yet, though. Look at Paki Caruso once again thinking about it around the outside to turn number 1. That would have been gutsy if he went for it, but just not close enough. This battle is still intense between these two racers.
They're rather staring each other into the abyss right now as far as a battle for fourth is concerned, but the last spot inside the top 5 is up for grabs for these two, and so they'll fight for it very hard over the last 6 laps. That's what we're about to see here between Sanchez and Caruso again. Down towards the right-handers, the double right-handers. Turn 6 first. Not a big braking zone, not big enough for Caruso to head down the inside of Sanchez there. That's a better exit out of 7 though, and he should have the exit on the way to the chicane. The driver in front of him does not have the slipstream of Yanakis, and so even if he wanted to chase it, and so it should be an easier pass for Caruso, but no. Is there going to be a bit of help here issued to Sanchez? There is. So Caruso wants to get the best result possible, it seems, and he's going to help Sanchez for now to help himself to a better result later.
Yeah, two smart drivers. They've driven in these cars for so long. They know what they got to do. There's no point just squabbling up and battling as hard as they can for any spot, because they're going to lose track of what's really at stake here. They're going to lose track of that P4 that Christopher Yanakis is currently holding on to. Now they're back in it. You can see that gap has closed up between Yanakis and Sanchez, looking at about a half a second as they head their way into turn number 5 in just a few moments' time. Sanchez in a good spot to get this move done. Caruso in a good spot to get a move done as well. So a decent amount of time left to go in this race with 15 laps already, 14 full laps now in our rear view mirror, soon to be 15 full laps already gone by. Definitely enough time for these racers to still squabble up. So I would not be in the position that Christopher Yanakis is in at the present moment. You may have a clean road in front of you, but that clean view may not last long.
This group been sewn back together again now. With Yanakis at the head of it again. Sanchez going to go for it. Strikes at the first opportunity. And probably the right idea too. Inside, and he gets it. In towards the chicane. Now, this is not a position that Yanakis has been in too often. He's been one of the more effective defenders of positions so far in this race, compared to what we've seen from some others. And so, now we get to see what he can do in the middle of the group here. Is Caruso going to get through, and is he going to end up outside the top 5 by the end here? Or are we going to see a fight back and him draft back past Sanchez again on the back straight? Going to be very interesting to see what he does this time round.
Yeah, this will be fascinating to see how it's going to work out with Yanakis now with the shoe on the other foot. He was so worried about defending that spot that now he's got to worry about being on the offense instead of the defense. Will he be able to play that game well? What's going to happen? Will it be Yanakis applying the pressure to Sanchez, or Yanakis having a pressure applied to him by Paki Caruso? If he can still play that draft game, it may work out well. Let's see how it works as they head their way out of 7 onto the back straightaway once again. Only a handful of laps left to go for these racers, so time is of the essence. Got to go for every single spot that you can. Looks like Yanakis going to give that bump draft to Sanchez to try and cover off Caruso.
Pretty wide into the chicane. Oh, and Yanakis through the middle. Breaks latest, and he gets the biggest prize, 4th place for now. 3 laps to go, rather, as Caruso tries to respond as well. He wants to take 2 in 1, and maybe he will in towards turn 1 here. Does he go? He switches to the inside. Yanakis gives him the space in the end. He thought Caruso would go for it anyway, and he was right. Contact. Yanakis on the curb, and Sanchez going to get straight back through here. And he's got to fall back into line. Yanakis back to the 3rd place in the group. And Rafa Blanco's tearing up to these guys quickly as well, by the way. But Yanakis showed that he doesn't mind being 3rd of the 3.
Oh, and Christopher Yanakis with a golden horseshoe stuck in his ear as he headed his way through turn number 1, hit that outside curb, and was probably about a fraction of a millimeter away from completely losing that car. There's the contact. It's a touch from the front right wheel of Yanakis into the side pod of Packy Caruso's car. That could have ended in disaster. Caruso, meanwhile, runs wide, heading out turn number 7. He is going to get chewed up and spat at by these racers. As he said at the start of this lap, though, Ewan, here comes Rafa Blanco. This 3-car battle has turned into a 4. Let's see what the 2 at the front are going to do. As Sanchez and Yanakis going to duke it out side by side into turn number 10. Rafa Blanco now there to pounce as well as side by side. Now going to go on with Caruso and Sanchez through the turn. Rafa Blanco now right there to pounce. I think he's going to go for the move soon.
Has had to be very careful with that because otherwise they will let the first driver of the 3 get away, like what they did with George Gonzaga. Don't forget, this was a 3rd place battle at a time, but no longer. Round the right-hander at the first corner again for Sanchez, who's at the back of this group at the moment. Sorry, Blanco, who's at the back of this group, rather. Sanchez in the 3rd place of it all, in the number 6 car. Yanakis at the front, and was briefly boxed in there, Yanakis, on the back straight, but just about managed to get past Caruso in time to turn left around Sanchez and gets into 4th. But has he timed this right? This is the penultimate lap. He might not end this lap leader of the group, but he might end the next one as 4th place, and that's what he's aiming for here. So is he trying to time this correctly, and what are the others going to do? Are they going to be jockeying for position into second behind, or is Caruso just going to go all out here anyway? Blanco surely is, and so Sanchez, because they're quite a long way back in the group here, and here they come. Oh, Sanchez doesn't really know where to go, and he can't go through the middle there. There's no space. Caruso goes wide through the first part. Yanakis through wide through the second, and that allows Sanchez up his inside over the top of the hill, and he'll be on the inside for the final turn. Contact. Caruso's going to go off into the grass. Caruso's off, and he's to the back of the group. He's got a big job on his hands now, but so is Yanakis. He's defending. Sanchez to his outside. Blanco hangs back. They know what happens when you go 3 wide over the top of the hill here. Yanakis was involved in the last time that happened, of course. He's still in 4th place.
Something's gonna break here soon. These racers cannot afford to go side by side like this for so long. They're in a pack of their own. They don't have to worry about any more racers getting involved in this, but they've been throwing haymakers at each other for so long. Somebody's going to end up with a split knuckle. Who's gonna be in that catbird seat to hold on to the 2 spots inside of the top 5? Who's going to get shown the door? It's not gonna end well for one of these racers, so they just can't go side by side like this for as long as they have and not have it end in tears at some point.
The checkered flag is about to be taken by Andre Castro, by the way, who, after disappointment last week, is going to take his 4th race victory of our broadcasted races here this season. Andre Castro wins, 10 places gained for a comfortable victory, but who's going to finish 4th? It's not Yanakis, and there's a penalty for Caruso and Yanakis for hitting the incident limit as they hit each other in the final turns. Sanchez gets 4th. We'll see a replay in a moment of what actually happened there. But Sanchez gets 4th. Caruso is going to finish down the field. So is Yanakis. Blanco's going to end up with a top 5 at the end of all this as well. Oh my goodness. It all happened at the end. Here it is. Sanchez trying to defend from all angles. And Yanakis, minding his own business, was just run over by Packy Caruso there.
See, I'm not going to say I called it, but I called it. Let's take a look at another angle of this as they head their way down to the turn. Now, the brakes are always finicky in these SR10s. I've overshot plenty of braking zones myself, but I think the red mist had firmly descended in that moment. He just wanted to try and get the max out of it, and it just didn't work out for Packy Caruso. Certainly didn't work out for Christopher Yanakis. He picks up a penalty. That'll shoot him down from P10 probably, gosh, I would probably say at the tail end of the field completely at the end of this race. I did not have a good feeling about that at all, and I didn't for a while. And as soon as a 4th car got involved and they were still close with 1 lap left to go, I would have probably bet my house that something like that would have gone down.
Dear, oh dear. Well, what a finish to that race. Andre Castro wins, as I say, 4th time he's won this season. First time, though, since Mid-Ohio, which was quite a long time ago. Heinz Braun just over 9 seconds behind in quite a quiet race for him. George Gonzaga in the end escaped that group for 4th, and he was just as well to do so as well. Franco Sanchez ends up winning that battle. Paco Caruso with that black flag towards the end. They will probably drop down. Rafa Blanco then 6th place with Gabriel Berger, Chris Wetz, Juan Perez, and Christopher Yanakis was in the top 10. Will probably drop out. Oleg Gullikson will get into the top 10, therefore. Alberto Rios might still stay outside of it. Denis Kyriakopoulos, Tim Berti, and Lars-Erik Frydenlund all finished 1 lap down after recovering from their damage. Jarek Tunkovic, Javier Gullikson, Peter Eveny, and James Barry all retired after their damage in the day. Hopefully we'll be able to chat with the race winner in a short while, but let's work our way the wrong way up the podium this time round, shall we, with George Gonzaga first of all. George, welcome in. Congratulations on a second podium in our broadcasted races in the last 2 weeks. Tell us about this race first of all, though, because it was, carnage behind you, but in the end for yourself, a little bit lonely for the last few laps. Talk us through the opening to this race, though.
Yeah, the first 9 laps were really intense. Was trying to make way. Then there were a few spuns. T5 obviously took the usual victims. I almost crashed into James. Like I have no idea how I didn't had to head him. And then was just trying to keep the pace. Saw people spinning out. I'm like, freebie, great. I'm gonna take that. And then I managed to catch Yanakis, and then there was the battle between us 4, Yanakis, Paki, Franco, and myself. And Yanakis decided to give me a bit of a bump draft, which I'm really, really thankful. But I saw Paki coming in on the inside, so I thought I need to outbrake this. But in true honesty, all I wanted to get out from that pack. I know they were going to battle hard, so I just had to start doing hot laps from there onwards, and it paid off. So I'm really happy. 2 podiums in 2 weeks.
Exactly. You're the only driver, by the way, who was on the podium last week to be on the podium this week as well, as far as I'm aware. How pleased are you to have ended the season so well here? I'm sure not only in these races as well, but generally it must be a very good end to the year for you.
No, it's right. It was a really successful year for us, so we're really happy. Set in Earth, we've been working really hard in the background to trying to get the titles that we managed to achieve with the Euro Championship and the Teams Championship as well. So we're really happy. We're really happy for Christoph and for James as well, as in the vice champion on the World Finals. So I think overall, if you look at the year, this was our best year yet, and that just gives us a good structure for the years to come. It gives us visibility, gives us credibility. We want to be on the top teams on the radical community. I think we're on the right spot. Hopefully we want to see more titles on the E-Cup. I think that's the competition that's still skipping us. But obviously we have the likes of Andre and Havard and Ivani, and oh my God, there are so many. It's crazy, the competition for the E-Cup. So I guess for next year that would be an ambition for us. But overall we're really happy, and I'm really proud of the team.
Well, congrats on your part in that tonight, 3rd place finish, and thanks for chatting to us at the end as well.
Cool, thank you guys. Bye.
Thanks so much. That is George Gonzaga, as I mentioned there. The most points of anybody in our last 2 broadcasted races of the season, picking up 41 points. Better even than Andre Castro's 38 in the last 2 weeks. We'll hopefully chat to him in a little while, but work our way up the podium. Continuing, we'll chat to Heinz Braun next. Heinz, welcome in. Good to have you with us. It looked like a very quiet race for you in the last 10 laps or so. What was it like in the car?
Yeah, I would say, as you described it, it was after the crash of, I think, Havard and James. It was a little bit exciting if I can keep the pace when Andro came. But unfortunately, I couldn't give him a good battle. I just was then trying to manage the gap to Jorge or the guys battling behind. So after I've seen that they were fighting a lot, like in the relative, then I was sure, okay, could be a little bit more exciting, but of course P2 is a good result, so I don't really complain about it.
Absolutely, and it should cement your place in the iRacing standings as well at the end of this Radical Esports Cup season. How pleased are you with Season 4 of 2025 and another solid top 10? I believe top 5 it should be by the end of the season.
Yeah, it should be top 5. I think I'm still not managing it to be in the top 3. That is my big goal, I would say. There are always new guys coming up, which give us a good fight and to get their points during the season or in the broadcast races or within the weeks. So maybe next season I'm lucky and can pull up in the first 3, but I will keep on trying it.
Well, good luck with that, of course, but congrats on looking back on this season again on another solid top 5 finish, as it should be. Obviously, it's not over yet, but should be the top 5 this season. And thanks for chatting to us at the end as well.
Yeah, thank you as well. Bye-bye.
Thanks very much. That's Heinz Brunn, second place tonight. Don't look like Andre Castro is going to join us, unfortunately, tonight, so that will have to be that for him. But I can officially say, and he already will have known this, that he will be our champion for Season 4 of 2025. The first time here at Racebot TV, we've really kept track of our own standings, really. And kept an eye on who's been going well over the course of a season. Generally, Ron, since we've been doing this together over the last couple of seasons, it's actually been quite hard to tell who would have got the most points if we'd have been doing it previous seasons. But to be honest, we didn't need to keep points this season. We knew he was the best driver. And it was Andre Castro who's finished in the top 10 in our races every round since Detroit week 4. And he's finished in the top 2 on 6 of those 8 occasions. It's been a pretty dominant season from him.
And you know what's interesting looking back on the season that Andre Castro put together, it's a far more dominant championship here in Season 4 than it was for him in Season 3. He went out for all-out glory in Season 3, was able to get the championship with a whole lot of wins. Here, however, only grabbed 4 wins on the entire season, at least for these 2100 GMT broadcasted races. In fact, this is the first win that he's scored since mid-Ohio for week number 7. Castro was just super consistent from the drop of the green through to the fall of the checkered here at Road Atlanta, and in doing so, in becoming the champion here, he becomes the first back-to-back champion of Radical Esports Cup action since James Berry grabbed 3 straight in seasons 2, 3, and 4 of 2024. So it has been an incredible ride for Andre Castro throughout the season to become a back-to-back champion. And from a personal note as well, this wraps up, I guess, now season 12 of me covering these here since the start of season 1 of 2023. It's been an honor once again to be here on RaceBot for the 3rd season on the trot. It was an absolutely fantastic ride, and looking ahead to see what season 1 of 2026 has in store.
Absolutely. Just while we've been talking, though, Andre Castro's popped himself in the waiting room, so better late than never. We'll grab him for a quick word before we go. Andre, welcome in. Good to have you with us, and thanks for joining us just before we wrap up this season. First of all, I don't want to put a dampener on things, but what was going on in qualifying there? Unlike you to be outside the top 10 there.
Yeah, just one extra overturned 3, I guess, on lap 2, so pretty easy to do. I knew I had my work cut out for me, and a friend of mine who was in the Discord said after that I felt I had a 3% chance of winning. So it's kind of like the Michael Jordan meme where I took that personally, and I started to come through, and I got up to 4th, and then I guess unfortunately Havard and James got together, and after that I kind of opened the door for me. But it was a good race, and just got to thank BS Plus Hybrid for welcoming me onto their team and supporting me as well, and in endurance races and F4 Esports, which wraps up tomorrow. And thanks to you all for the broadcast. It was a lot of fun, another season, and felt good to wrap up that way. Just had a couple of tough weeks, Le Mans getting slowdowns, and in the world finals just getting wrecked and crashing out. So that was not my proudest moment, and just in general, it's been a tough few weeks. Try to stay consistent. Obviously, the World Finals doesn't count for iRating, but want to do well there and didn't. So it feels good to cap it off like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And how do you sort of balance all that when you look back on, especially the end of 2025, where it looks like you're going to get another overall iRacing season, and you've got the best record of anyone throughout our broadcasted races here as well. Through the last 12 weeks, but obviously those small disappointments in there as well. How do you balance all that as you reflect on 2025?
I just gotta kind of remember that, generally, you know, I want to as well like have fun in these races and just have a good battle, and you know, try not to get too upset and end up making rash decisions, which I think I was doing a bit in the when I first joined this championship sometimes, and making some people upset. So just trying to keep cool, I think, is something that I've been working on. Obviously, it helps when you have pace, but you know, there are weeks where I just had to settle for second, which is fine. And yeah, just in general, kind of having maybe less low lows personally. You know, trying to just take things as they come and accept if it doesn't go my way. I think that's been the main challenge, and yeah, just trying to be a little bit better every week. And luckily, this week was a good one. So yeah, hopefully we can get the broadcast back next season and go ahead for another season. I know we got Monza combined coming in week 12, so I'm sure you guys would want to cover that.
Well, yes, that you are right about that. That'll be an exciting round for sure, but they all are, of course. Thanks for having a chat with us at the end of the season, Andre, and congrats again on the win tonight.
Yeah, of course, and thank you, Ron, Agustin, and Ewan for everything that you guys do for the series, and till we meet again.
Thanks very much, Andre Castro, the winner tonight here at Road Atlanta, capping off the Radical Esports Cup season in Season 4 of 2025. Big thanks to everyone who's been tuned in over the course of this season, and indeed tonight in one of the crazier races of the 12, Andre Castro gaining 10 places after qualifying outside the top 10 to win by 9 seconds. Don't often you see those two statistics lined up next to one another. That's just about it from us here tonight on Racesport TV and the iRacing YouTube channel as well. I've been your Leary alongside Ron Mans with Ramiro Augustin Cisneros behind the cameras of this broadcast here tonight. Thanks for joining us in the Radical Esports Cup in 2025. Hope to see you in 26. Goodbye for now.